Hopefully not. Take those. Okay. Alright, my name is Melissa Johnson, and I want to discuss with you that all states should implement a mandatory sex education program for all children in school starting at the age of 12. Now, I'm not sure if you know, but according to the National Campaign to Prevent Teen and Unplanned Pregnancy, over 820,000 teens get pregnant each year. Now, we'd be naive to assume that that kids aren't going to be having sex. So what we need to do is make it a purpose to inform them on the importance of having safe sex. Now, many children, or many parents, maybe they're misunderstood themselves, they're uncomfortable talking to their kids, or they just don't want to talk to their kids about having safe sex. So that's why it's up to us to push lawmakers into requiring these programs in school so that we can help decrease the statistic of high teen pregnancy rates. Now I want to give you a few more facts on the number of sexually active teens and also the number of teen pregnancies in the U.S., just so I can put into better perspective of why this is such an important need to start these programs in school. Now the statistics are pretty alarming on just how sexually active these kids are. The first statistic is that about half of all teens, or 46%, have had sex. The next statistic is that the greatest rise in teen pregnancy falls under the age of 15, with 6% of reported children having started having sexual activity before 13. The next statistic is that in 2009, only 61% of teens reported using a condom while having sex. And the last statistic is that only about a third of teen moms will graduate from high school. Now, right now, there are many things out there that are helping entice our young kids into being sexually active at a young age. Although it may be unintentional, in my opinion, it's not really. But there are a lot of TV shows that are enticing the kids into having sex, like Teen Mom and 16 and Pregnant. These shows are following along the lives of teen moms and dads about having kids at young ages and what it's like to have a baby. It isn't always glamorous what they show, but they are still showing other kids what it's like to have a baby, and they're paying them to be involved in these programs or in these shows. What kind of example is that to show kids? I mean, you are pretty much telling them, hey, I'm going to get pregnant so that I can be a TV celebrity like these other kids. Not exactly what you want. Another example is the music that's being played. It's quite explicit, and even when it's censored, it's not hard for these kids to understand what is being said in these songs. The kids are intelligent at a younger age, and they know exactly what's being said. The last thing is the clothing companies are producing quite scantily clad clothing, especially for the little girls. Store after store has shelves stocked full of short shorts, itty-bitty t-shirts, and these really tight jeans, and it's making it harder for parents to find age-appropriate clothes for their kids to be wearing. It shows way too much skin, and it's enticing boys in the completely wrong way. We might not be able to fix all the issues I listed, but what we can do is we can enforce mandatory sex education classes in all schools starting at age 12. Now, I first want to point out that there are currently 22 states in the United States that already implement these programs, and a lot of the parents are a little skeptical because they want to know exactly what is being taught to their kids. So over half of these students, or half of these schools, allow the parents to be involved. But at the same time, they're also giving them the option to opt out of being involved in the program, which to me completely defeats the purpose of mandating these in schools. Because one, it's not doing them any good to get further education on having safe sex or reducing the number of teen pregnancy. So in order for it to work, there has to be a mandatory program that their parents can't opt out of it. Now, another thing about the states that currently require sex education in schools is that the states require that the classes and the information being taught is deemed, age and material appropriate by the State Board of Education and the state medical boards. So that you make sure, because I think it's a good idea, because you make sure that what's being taught to the kids, maybe a 12-year-old, is appropriate for the age that they are at. You don't want them to get information that's being taught to an 18-year-old. That's not anything you want to happen. So I do want to mention that the states that are already allowing this, they have started to see a decrease in the amount of teen pregnancies, and it's helping deter these kids from having unprotected sex and having sex in general. They see that they don't want to have a baby, they don't want to get an STD, so that they just don't have sex at all. So, at the same time, the number is still pretty high. I mean, there's almost 1 million kids having a baby as a teenager each year. So if we can get these classes started, we can start to decrease that number quicker. Also by mandating sex education in school and following in the participating states' footsteps, we can also make a few changes, like not allowing the parents the option for them to opt out, and we can continue to decrease the number of teen pregnancies each year. But most importantly, we can educate the kids on the importance of safe sex. Now, since sex education is already offered in about half the U.S., it would be an easy transition to mirror it into the rest of the states around the U.S. The proper steps will be taken to make sure that all state laws are followed individually by involving lawmakers, as well as involving the parents and the teachers to make sure accurate information is given that makes everyone happy. There would also be the option to offer single-sex education, which means boys and girls being taught separately, because there's a lot of parental pushback on the boys and girls being taught together, that making it separate would help, I guess, reduce the pushback that the parents are having, that are giving. Ultimately, mandatory sex education in the school would make sure that teens throughout the U.S. are completely informed on everything and see all the risks associated with having unprotected sex. So in conclusion, it is definitely easy to see why mandatory sex education programs should be implemented throughout the entire United States so that we can continue to protect our teens and our young children from having a baby at a very young age, and also reduce the number of those teen pregnancies overall. And with almost half the schools in the United States already participating, like I said, it would be an easy transition to get the rest of them to participate and make sure that all of the information being provided is accurate and age appropriate so that no child goes left uninformed.
We're on good.
How do I stop it?
Push the button on the side.
Yeah, I'll let you do that.